Hey Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today for the Scrap Room to share with you a layout that I created using the Jen Hadfield or Pebbles Along the Way collection from the November Flavor of the Month kits. Those are the kits there, and this is the layout that I created. So the pattern paper that came with this month's kit was black, not pattern paper. I always say that, I'm sorry. The cardstock is black. And so I wanted to use a white digital cut file to really use that black and make the pictures and the patterns, the colors in the pattern paper pop. So I don't actually use any of the pattern paper whole. I did a bunch of fussy cutting, and I am trying to avoid showing you the actual fussy cutting itself. So what I showed you just now was that I cut out a bunch of the flowers, and when you do fussy cutting, I'm going to speed through this just to give you the idea. You have to move the paper as well as close your scissors in order to get the cleanest cuts. And I cut out a number of the flowers, both from that yellow pattern paper there, as well as from the pink florals that are in that other paper that right there below that pink that I showed you. Then what I did was I wanted some of the actual flowers in the die cut to be backed, so I traced them with a pencil on the outside and then just fussy cut the outside of that to go behind the flower there. And I'm going to do that with the pink, the blue pattern paper, as well as the chevron stripe pattern paper. So there's the blue one, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, trace it with a pencil, and then cut it and go from there. And I will fast forward through this because you do not need to see me do each and every one, but I did want you to get the idea of really how easy it is to back these die cuts, and you don't need to cut each one. Having those additional pieces that I cut from the other pattern paper kind of helps fill in those holes, but it also allows that white to stand through and see the black a little bit more. So I arranged everything, and I just skipped over the other part, like I said, of all of the fussy cutting. And now what I'm doing is I'm just going to decide where I want those other pieces to go. So I have to tell you that I honestly don't know the name of this cut file, and I've looked for it. I think it was a wreath, but what happened was my silhouette cut a line through it, which is unusual, and so I just put it in pieces. It may actually be a two-piece file. It's been a while, and I did not write the name down, so I apologize. And I like actually that it doesn't go all the way around, but gives you that illusion of going all the way around. And now I'm going to use those other fussy cut pieces to just add splashes of color, put in a little bit of yellow here and there. I'm going to the yellow I've used to try and actually create a visual triangle. However, I wanted more yellow flowers to fill in more spaces, so I lose that visual triangle that I'd originally created. And my principle of having a visual triangle gets somewhat lost, to be completely honest there. So I want to use this pretty as the title, and I'm not sure where I'm going to put it, so I get some wax paper so I can kind of play with the placement of everything before I adhere it down. Originally I wanted to say hello, and then I was going to put beautiful with other letters, and then I decided hello is very generic and boring, and I really try and steer away from the generic boring titles, but I had so much going on here that I kind of had to settle for pretty and just let that be my title. So you can see how I try and fit in hello and pretty. That was my original plan, but it was just too much and too busy on the layout. And so I settled for over that clump of flowers there. And while the title, the P, kind of stands up a little bit higher, it works just fine. So now I'm going to take the green from that pattern paper, And I'm going to run parts of it through my Big Shot and try and get a little bit of extra greenery in there, because there is green in the die cuts, and so I wanted to incorporate some greenery and just some foliage, some leaves into that. And I really like the way that that darker color pops against the black background there. So I am using, that is a Sizzix Tim Holtz die. And the green comes from the back of those strips on the pattern paper there. And I'm doing something off camera. I was trying to find the glue and bits and pieces to figure out where that was going to go. I actually needed to clean those dies too as well. So there's actually two dies in there. One is a Christmas die that I end up abandoning, and I just go with the leaves from that particular Sizzix collection there. I'm going to put that away and then get the layout back out and find where I can tuck this greenery in for a little added something. I did actually also cut out some of the leaves from the yellow pattern paper, and just so that there's different shapes and sizes, and I kind of wanted to fill in that black hole on that right hand side, and that leaf that you see sitting there is actually going to get removed, and I'm going to put a tag in there. I did borrow a couple of other things from my stash. That particular tag is a Maggie Holmes tag, so not from Pebbles. Actually, that's not true. That is from a Pebbles collection, but it's an old collection from my stash there. And so with this particular layout, I kind of abandoned all of my usual resorting to design principles of trios of things, because I have more than 3 trios of flowers really, and yeah, it kind of fell apart, but it's okay because you have this contiguous movement going around the layout, and the pictures are in the center as well as the journaling underneath, so it just sort of encapsulates everything and keeps your eye contained to the center of that. And because all of the elements of the page are alike, you don't get lost in the layout, because it's not like your eye is drawn by different things, which was kind of neat. So literally in order to get everything glued down, everything got pulled up. I'm not very good at doing that. I like to construct the layout to be able to commit to things, and then I never am able to get the layout the same way as I did initially, because I just can't make that placement work the same, but generally they all end up being in the same place. I wonder if anybody else have that problem. You build the whole layout and then you take a picture of it, hoping to help jog your memory as to where things go, and then when it actually gets all laid down, it looks completely different. Well, still close, but not the same. I hope I'm not the only one who has that problem, but it's okay. It's part of the artistic license and the creative process, and it all works out in the end, right? It's just pictures and paper. So that is the title going down, and then I need to tuck in some of this greenery. And again, I just want a balance of green throughout the layout there. And even though I've built the layout, I need to rebuild the layout. There we go. And that, by doing that, I'm able to close that gap between those two digital die cuts a little bit there. I go back and forth with adhesive. Sometimes I use my ATG, and sometimes I use my liquid adhesive, and sometimes I use my Prima glue pen. Largely it depends on what is most handy and the easiest to get things down. I have found with the ATG gun, I have a latex sensitivity, and if I touch the ATG adhesive too much, my fingers get really itchy. So there has to be latex in there, or there's something in there that irritates my hands. So I try not to put smaller parts down if I know I'm going to have to touch the back of when I'm using my ATG gun. And smaller things, I definitely prefer to use the Prima glue pen and or the liquid adhesive. So there you go, Prima glue pen. So when things are stuck down and they need a little added adhesive, the easiest way is to just kind of pull it up and tuck in the pen behind there. So I've got all of the flowers and I've got the title down and I'm tucking in the foliage. Now I want to just put a little bit more embellishment in. So I have that label there that is from the ephemera pack that comes with the kit, and it says "Oh So Pretty," and then that label there says thanks. And again, it's sort of a generic saying that thanks. So I'm going to find a sticker that says "For You" to make that make sense. These are my collection of goodies that come when you get the flavor of the month kits. You don't necessarily get all of the embellishments. So these are a fifth of the ephemera pack, and you've already seen me use the foil foam phrases there. There is washi tape that comes with it as well. I do not use that in this particular layout. I do pop some of the elements. I've popped some of the flowers, and so I want to pop this thanks again to make the dimension of the flowers match with the dimension of that pretty there, just to create some balance throughout the layout. And we're going to call that done. So enjoy the close-ups. I hope you are doing well. I thank you for stopping in today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.